Ooh, what if I told you that the person most likely to destroy you is not your enemy? It's your best friend, the one you trust the most, the one you've known the longest, the one you've done everything for. That person is your biggest danger, and history has proven this over and over again.
The law. Law 2 of the 48 Laws of Power says this: be very careful with friends. They will betray you faster than enemies because friendship breeds envy. Give a friend too much power and they become spoiled, greedy, and dangerous. But your enemy? Hire him, use him, because he has something to prove. He will work harder, stay more loyal, and never take you for granted. The cold truth is, you have more to fear from friends than from enemies. Story 1. Michael III and Basilius. Let's go back to 9th century Constantinople. A young man named Michael III had just become emperor of the Byzantine Empire. His mother had been banished. His advisors had been murdered. He was young, inexperienced, and surrounded by dangerous people on all sides. He needed someone he could trust completely, so he turned to his best friend, Basilius. Now, Basilius was nobody. He was a peasant from Macedonia, a horse trainer. He had no education, no political experience, nothing. But a few years earlier, he had saved Michael's life when a wild horse got loose. That one act of bravery made them inseparable. Michael showered Basilius with everything. He sent him to the finest schools in Byzantium. He gave him gifts, titles, money. He made the crude peasant into a polished, sophisticated courtier. Then he gave him the most powerful position in the empire, chief counselor and chamberlain. Why? Because Basilius owed him everything. Surely a man who owes you everything will be the most loyal person alive. That's what Michael thought. Basilius learned fast, too fast. He studied power, built alliances, charmed the army, and quietly accumulated wealth and influence. And the more he got, the more he wanted. When Michael ran into financial trouble and asked Basilius to repay some of the money he had borrowed over the years, Basilius refused, with a smile of complete arrogance on his face. That smile told Michael everything. He had created a monster. But realizing it too late and actually doing something about it are two different things. Friendship and love blind people to danger. Michael still couldn't believe his best friend would truly betray him. He was wrong. One night, after heavy drinking, Michael woke up surrounded by soldiers. Basilius watched as they stabbed the emperor to death. Then Basilius declared himself the new emperor, rode his horse through the streets of the capital, and displayed the severed head of his former best friend, the man who had given him everything, on the end of a pike. The man who owed Michael his entire life ended it. As Voltaire said, "Lord, protect me from my friends. I can take care of my enemies." Story 2. Emperor Sung and the Generals. Now, let's look at someone who understood this law perfectly. After the fall of the Han Dynasty in China, the country fell into centuries of chaos. Every few years, the same pattern repeated. Army generals would kill a weak emperor, put a strong general on the throne, and then that general would eventually be killed by his own commanders. It was a never-ending cycle of violence and betrayal. In 959 AD, a general named Cao Kuang-yin became Emperor Sung. He knew exactly what was coming. His own generals, men he had fought alongside, would eventually conspire against him. It was only a matter of time. But Sung didn't panic. He didn't execute them. He did something far smarter. He threw a banquet, invited all his most powerful generals, fed them well, gave them wine, and then, when the mood was relaxed, he spoke honestly. In one move, Sung turned a pack of dangerous wolves into harmless, comfortable nobles who had no reason to threaten him. But he didn't stop there. He went further. He turned his enemies into allies. When a rebel king named King Liu finally surrendered after years of fighting, Sung didn't lock him up. He gave him a rank in the imperial court and invited him to the palace for wine. Liu hesitated, thinking the wine was poisoned. Sung took the glass and drank it himself first. No poison. From that day forward, Liu became one of Sung's most trusted and loyal supporters. When another enemy, Qian Shu, was caught red-handed with documents proving he was planning to assassinate Sung, Sung didn't punish him. He quietly sent the documents back to Qian Shu in a package, letting him know that he knew everything, but had chosen to spare him anyway. That act of mercy completely broke Qian Shu. He became one of the most devoted vassals Sung ever had. Sung understood something that most people never do. A forgiven enemy is more grateful and more loyal than any friend, because he expected death and got kindness instead. That debt never goes away. The Sung dynasty ruled China for over 300 years. The psychology. Why friends betray you. Here's what most people don't understand about friendship and power. When you hire a friend or give them power, something quietly shifts. Your friend starts to feel like they deserve what they got, not because of your generosity, but because of their own talent. The favor starts to feel like an insult, like you chose them out of pity, not merit. Then comes the resentment, small at first, a little envy here, a little bitterness there. They start hiding their true feelings because honesty threatens the friendship. They smile to your face and quietly compete with you inside. And because you trust them, you never see it coming. Friends also know you too well. They know your weaknesses, your fears, your secrets, and when the moment of betrayal comes, they know exactly where to strike. An enemy, on the other hand, comes in with something to prove. He knows you don't fully trust him, so he works twice as hard to earn that trust. He expects nothing and delivers everything. He has no sense of entitlement, just hunger. Napoleon's foreign minister Talleyrand understood this perfectly. When he decided to move against Napoleon in 1807, he needed a partner he could trust completely. So he chose Joseph Fouché, his most hated enemy, a man who had once tried to have him assassinated. Why? Because Fouché would expect nothing from him. Their former hatred would actually create a stronger bond. Both men knew the stakes. There was no room for personal feelings, only mutual interest. Their partnership, though it ultimately failed to topple Napoleon, became one of the most powerful political alliances of the era. Even Abraham Lincoln understood this. During the Civil War, when an elderly woman criticized him for being too kind to his Southern enemies instead of destroying them, Lincoln replied simply, "Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends?" Mao Zedong, enemies make you stronger. There's one more angle to this law that most people miss. Not only should you use your enemies, you actually need them. Without enemies, you grow weak, comfortable, lazy. An enemy keeps you sharp, focused, and hungry. Mao Zedong built his entire strategy around this idea. When Japan invaded China in 1937, interrupting the civil war between his communists and the nationalist enemy, some of his own leaders wanted to step back, avoid the Japanese, and use the time to rest. Mao disagreed completely. He said, fighting the Japanese, the most powerful military force they had ever faced, would be the best training his army could ever get. He turned the invasion into a school of warfare. And he was right. By the time the Japanese retreated, the Communist army had become battle-hardened, disciplined, and experienced enough to defeat the nationalists. Years later, when a Japanese visitor tried to apologize to Mao for the invasion, Mao stopped him and said, "Should I not thank you instead?" Without a worthy opponent, a man cannot grow stronger. Keys to power, what you must do. So, what does this law actually mean for your life? First, keep your friendships and your work separate. Friends are for friendship. When it comes to getting things done, choose the most skilled and competent person available, not the most familiar one. Second, never fully trust anyone with too much power over your life. Even the closest relationships can turn. Nothing is permanent in the world of power. Third, when you have enemies, don't just tolerate them, use them. An enemy challenges you, sharpens you, and when converted, serves you with a devotion no friend can match. Fourth, if you have no enemies, that's actually a problem. It means you stand for nothing. A man with no opposition has no identity, no cause, no edge. Sometimes you need to create conflict deliberately, not to destroy, but to define yourself and stay sharp. The reversal. Now, this law is not absolute. Sometimes a friend can be more useful than an enemy, specifically when you need dirty work done and want to maintain appearances. Friends will take risks for you that strangers won't. And if things go wrong, a friend makes a convenient scapegoat. The public will never believe you deliberately sacrificed someone that close to you. But, and this is critical, the moment you use a friend this way, the friendship is over forever. So use it only as a last resort. The bottom line is this. In the realm of power, nothing stays the same. Friends become enemies. Enemies become allies. The wise person never gets too comfortable with either. Always watch. Always stay alert. And never let emotion blind you to what people are actually doing. Closing. Michael III gave his best friend the world. His best friend put his head on a pike. Emperor Sung turned his most dangerous enemies into his most loyal supporters. His dynasty lasted 300 years. Same world, same human nature, two completely different outcomes. The difference was one thing, knowing who to trust and how to use everyone around you. That is law too.